What's up, guys? Thanks for inviting me, man.
Gladly. Glad you're here. Glad we were able to set this one too, and get this exciting series going.
Yeah.
2025 is going to be a big year, so we are super excited to have you here. We'll let director get us going.
Yeah, well, everybody, thank you very much for joining us on our first YouTube episode of the year, and hopefully we have many more to come. Like you said, I am the executive director of the Greater Quad Cities Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. I have my co-host. I'll let him introduce himself if you don't already know who he is.
How you doing, guys? Emmanuel Juarez, State Farm, and we're excited to launch this new podcast series here with the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. We got some exciting guests lined up for you guys throughout the months. So stick with us. This is going to be super exciting. We got great guests, and today our guest is Greg Aguilar, Quad City native, and we're going to let him introduce himself. And let's hear some from Greg. Thank you, Greg.
Buenas tardes, Quad Citizens, Raza de los Quad Cities. Greg Aguilar, your public servant, your friend, and native here to the Quad Cities. I've been a part of this community, especially the Hispanic community, most of my life through church and with great organizations that have come along throughout the way. And I'm very excited to be here with all of you watching us on YouTube and with the leaders of the Quad Cities and the Greater Quad Cities Hispanic Chamber of Commerce.
Thank you. I know you just had an exciting term just finished. Tell us a little bit about that, how that was, how it started, how it went, how it ended, and where it's going.
You know, it all started off back in volunteering for elections. Probably early 2000s, and just helping people like Joe Marino win mayor for East Moline, and just last week. Winning a slate of candidates all across the board for township government. It was my first time defending my title like a good WWF wrestler, right? But the hardest election to win is to take out an incumbent, and I did that 4 years ago. Took out someone who hadn't lost in 16 years. And then this round, man, they came at us with everything that they had, and so I had a full slate of people, and we won with probably well over 67% of the vote. Which is kind of unheard of. Usually elections are a lot closer than that. But besides winning my election, what's more important to me is seeing how many Latinos are now in elected office in the Quad Cities. When I ran for U.S. Congress back in 2012, I realized that we did not have the juice politically amongst Latinos to really carry us over the finish line. We could compete and we could hang on. But 2025, we now have a new Latino Hispanic mayor, Bob Cervantes. We have Alvaro Macias, who just got into his second term in office. Myself, second term in office. We have new people that are coming in that are Latino, people of color, and we've never seen anything like it in the Quad Cities. So besides my win, and I'm super excited about it, I'm very excited to see how many Latinos are now in political office. And you're right, dude. 2025 is our year, and one of the next things that I want to do with the help of organizations like the Hispanic Chamber and LULAC is, what are we going to do with that juice? What kind of political influence do we need to advance causes that not only move our entire community, but are going to move individuals like members of the Hispanic Chamber and members of our multicultural community that want to advance in business? Also, we need to learn what are some obstacles. Maybe it's policies that are holding us back, but we now have the people in power that can really make some of those things happen. You know, one thing that I was really excited about is with the party that we just had to celebrate your new role for our community. I knew half the room, and I was very happy about that. You know, for the longest time, I'd walk into one of those rooms with the Hispanic Chamber. We know everybody, and I was very happy that I didn't know half of that room because they're new people. They're younger than they've ever been. They're more diverse than they've ever been, and it was a very good feeling because it gave me an opportunity to network with people that I didn't know, but also reminded me of why we have these organizations in place. You know, and then I like what I've been seeing with social media, what you've been up to. And, you know, Senor Noriega, I kind of want to ask you kind of what your vision is. Like, what do you think we can do with all this political power that we've just obtained and all of these new faces and the experienced faces and organizations? Like, how do you put that all together? What are you thinking?
Well, you know, that's a great question. And thank you for the compliment, because that was a big goal of mine and ours, you know, with planning that event, was I don't want to just have the same faces every time. Not that those faces aren't very important, haven't been impactful building the Quad Cities up to what it is. But like you said, there is a lot of new, fresh ideas, a lot of new, inspired younger business owners and entrepreneurs and community leaders that are out there that want to know how to get out and mix it up with people like you and stuff and figure out what they can do with you and the other community leaders and, like I said, other mayors and stuff from other cities and whatnot. And they just didn't know how to go about it. And so me making sure that I was reaching out to all of them also so they can come and understand that, like I said in my speech, we're not just the Hispanic Chamber, we're the multicultural chamber because we're all stronger together. And I think that we're seeing that, like you had mentioned, with all these political races. There was a lot of changes this year and some that people didn't expect. And that was a great thing to see. So getting all those people together, I think that'll be fabulous. And my whole goal for all that is I've already reached out to all the other the mayors on this side of the river. I'm reaching out to those on the Iowa side also because we are trying to expand more over there. But really getting in touch with all those elected officials, seeing what we can do, find out what buildings do they have that are empty that they're trying to get businesses to. So when I'm working with these businesses, I can say, hey, you drove by that building 5 times and it's empty. And they go, I didn't know. Well,
Right.
you could move your business right there. So really just keeping the communication open, seeing what programs are out there so we can help get some of these businesses into that they're just afraid to do it because they don't know that sometimes there are funds there to help them get started. And not even just funds, but other people and other community leaders, whether it's State Farm and Manny or someone else that can say, hey, you know what, let me help talk you through some of the stuff that you need. And so, yeah, that's the great thing. And I'm glad that you had noticed that there was a difference on our very first event.
One thing, because you're a serial entrepreneur.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like there's always a new business venture that you are either. What's neat too is, in baseball, if you hit 300 out of 1,000, you're doing pretty good.
Yeah.
And it's been neat watching you and your brother. No one's going to bat 1,000, but you guys always learn. One question I wanted to ask you is, I love, is it Cafe Lucy?
Cafe Lucy.
Cafe Lucy. And one of my thoughts, and I wanted to ask you guys about this, is we're seeing a lot of entrepreneurs coming out of all of our communities, and food trucks are popular. Food trucks are hot.
Oh, yeah.
One of the challenges that I've noticed is it's hard for them to be able to go all over the region because every community has to have their own permits, right? And if you have a license to sell in East Moline, that doesn't mean it's going to carry over to Rock Island.
Right.
So those are some of the policies that I'm interested. Maybe we all kind of tag team. I kind of want to see if might there be an appetite for that to create like a region-wide certificate, so it's like, yeah, if you got the certificate, okay, cool, you can go to any of the 5 Quad Cities. Would that be helpful at all, you think?
I think that would. It does come down to education. A lot of people have the drive, like, hey, I want to start a business, but then there's a whole bunch of other side hurdles that we had to jump through to get it to a licensed end product. They're like, hey, now we're going to bring it to the masses. It was things that we didn't know, legislature, laws, every community has to have their own licensing. You get to meet every inspector. We did it during the worst time of COVID. So all the inspectors there wasn't an inspector. So we had to basically kind of write the book during COVID for the mobile food truck, a commissary. We do have a commissary that is kind of unique. So with that whole thing, we basically kind of wrote the book with that commissary, and then getting in contact with every single. Iowa's completely different than Illinois. So those hurdles to do it. Then where it comes to insurance-wise, there's a whole nother thing too. Nice thing is right now with us, when we do, right now we're helping some food trucks right now. We're helping businesses that have a brick and mortar, thinking about getting a food truck down the road. Well, when we do a coverage on their business, it'll cover all 50 states and up to Canada.
Oh, wow.
And should they go to Puerto Rico, but it'll cover each side of the river. So which is one of the nice things now that we're doing and working with business owners, just so they know what's appropriate amount of coverage, where am I covered, what is not covered, are my employees covered? There's so many things. So that's why we like to sit down with the employees, owners, everybody that's in their team, just to make sure that they got the right amount of stuff and protection for their business, because that's the last thing we want to see is putting so much work into getting it up and running, and then just little, skipping a step or, just taking a shortcut somewhere where we don't want them to do that. So that way it's always important just to meet with them and just to make sure that they have the right amount of coverage all the way around so that nothing happens. It's exciting and it is growing. We see new food trucks coming up every so often. Just about every week, you see a new business, a new restaurant becoming live, and it's exciting, man. So much growth happening in the Quad Cities that is bringing new business, bringing older business to come out and even just to kick it up a notch. Expand. There's just so much growth, and what we do in the summers. Quad Cities just comes alive. So it's exciting to see that. Where do you see it, Greg? Where do you see the younger generation going? Where do you see the Quad Cities in the next, say, in the next 5 years?
Sure.
From, me not being raised here, but definitely this is my home. This is my community. I've seen a change in the last 10 years from when I first arrived here in the Quad Cities. Where do you see it going 5-10 years from now?
Well, I look at the Quad Cities. I always call them boroughs, even though together we're one giant city. But, you've got the East Moline borough, you've got the Davenport borough, just like you have the Bronx, or you have Queens and Manhattan.
Absolutely.
And so for the longest time, and I was a part of these efforts when I used to work for the Quad Cities Chamber, and it was we had to have a regional approach. And that is important, and I think that certainly helped us a lot, especially with creating an identity. But one thing I'm seeing different is we're strengthening the boroughs. Mm-hmm. East Moline 10 years ago didn't look anything like this. Now you've got 2 Hyatt hotels here. You've got the Bend Expo Center. You have restaurants that are popping up. You're seeing this urban redevelopment of downtown East Moline where, it was nothing but dive bar and the adult film industry. It was all there was up until like 1990. It really was what it was. And so I liked how East Moline took an approach saying, look, we don't need to bring in the next famous Daves. Like, at the time, we had Damien's Ribs. Now we have Bragg Barbecue. And so developing the businesses that already existed. So I think East Moline is a great example of, hey, we're going to do it the best of our ability for our community. For the longest time, people were always upset, especially on the Illinois side, oh, Davenport and Bettendorf get everything. And I'm actually happy that at least one of the 5 is getting something. That TBK is awesome because guess what? The whole region gets to use it. And when there's a tournament out there, guess what? The East Moline hotels fill up, and we get that extra East Moline tax. And so the next 5 years, I see each community strengthening itself up, right? And then with that, you can start creating better Quad City-wide momentum. For example, I think the Quad City Bike Club, or Quad City Bicycle Club, if each community had a chapter, then when they all come together, they become the Quad City Bicycle Club. But there's nothing wrong with having an East Moline Bicycle Club. And then when it comes time together, maybe once a quarter, once a month, have the Quad City-wide. That's power, right? That's bi-state. Young people, what I'm seeing that they're doing a good job at is they're taking advantage of the amenities that we have. They're going to the TBK. They're going to the golf courses. They're going to the bars and restaurants that are popping up. They're following social media to see where the food trucks is. So as long as they're supporting what we have, that's going to help advance our region and our community. Another thing, though, is we really have to have goals. And we, as individual communities, region-wide, we have them. But I think it's important to have an idea of what direction we're all trying to do. Are we trying to create new entrepreneurs? Are we trying to, what I think is really important is how are we going to recruit and retain talent? That's one of the biggest challenges where if you want major companies to come and hire us out, hire or build here, you need to have the workforce to advance those jobs. And overall, we've kind of had a stagnant population growth, and honestly, the biggest growth that's coming is through our multicultural communities. It's the Latinos, our African immigrants that are coming in and refugees. They're the ones that are growing and expanding our workforce. But are we doing what it takes to ensure that they stay here, that we're educating them in what they want to be educated in so that we can help advance our workforce? I'm starting to see more people want to earn money faster. I think of where they're hungry to make money, and that's good. But I also don't think it's fair when we say, okay, well, you have to go to college, you have to go to university. No, what if you want to be a welder? You don't have to do that. I like basketball, and I think of the NBA where it used to be that if you were 18, you could jump right into the NBA. They're like, well, now you got to play 1 year. And that's ridiculous. Like, why are you going to stop someone from making money saying we need you to do this for a year, that's not fair. And so creating routes that are going to advance people who want to work and people who want to earn money, get them there as fast as possible with the education that they need. Also, I'm looking at where, man, we have some incredible organizations. Like, I think Mercado on 5th is one of the best business incubators that we could have in the Quad Cities. And maybe that's not the right term, but what I see is they will start you off wherever you are. Okay, you want to sell chilaquiles? Cool. We'll start. Here's the licenses you have to do. You can start in our kitchen. Okay, now you want to expand to a food truck? Well, let's talk to organizations that can help advance that. And then also, too, cool, you've built up a great food truck, we'll say. It's like, how do we get you into brick and mortar like you were talking about? Then also, too, when it comes to, hey, we're having a problem, there's discrimination going against, as we're seeing right now, any immigrant. You know, like how's LULAC how's LULAC 10 and how's LULAC Moline going to help advance those causes? So the other thing within the next 5 years that I think, as I was talking about goal setting, is how do we get all of these organizations to work together to the best of their ability, not stay in our own lanes. Because I noticed before, especially with what's going on with immigration, sometimes the community calls out for help from the wrong organizations. You know, I know that Mercado on 5th got picked on, and so did the Hispanic Chamber. Why aren't you fighting for immigration? Because that's not their lane. You know, their lane is to advance economic interests. Their lane is to advance and grow memberships. You have leaders in there, but who is really the right people to call? LULAC, right? And so educating our community on what organizations we have, what they each do, and then how do we collaborate and get them to move together. And that's kind of part of what you do.
Yeah, and that's been actually an important thing that I've been kind of working on already. Before we had that big event there, the Mercado was there because they couldn't stay, but they're like, hey, I just wanted a chance to talk to you. We really need to get together, because they had mentioned to me, just like you had said, they feel that they're great at incubating those businesses, getting them started. They're like, but then, you know, we need to let them know that there's going to come a time that we need to hand them off to you guys so you guys can get them to that next level. And that was a big thing that I had said in one of my interviews that I had was, it's not about just starting. I mean, we could start 100 businesses, like you said, but if 9 of them close, I'm not really doing my job.
Right.
So it's reaching out to a lot of those existing ones and helping them go, hey, you know what? You're doing this, but maybe you should do this part. We can get you some help here, because I don't want you to be a 2-year business. I want you to be a 10, 15, and 20 year and pass that on to your kids and so forth. Because like you said, that's where generationally we're going to get that growth from is not just the immigrants that are coming in, but the ones that might not necessarily know how the politics work or how to do certain things, or even some of the laws. Heck, me living here and being a lifelong native, I wouldn't know food truck laws on how to get that going. I mean, that doesn't mean I'm good at that. So, you know, getting them with the right people and being that right stone and being able to help them build off of me to build what they need to build. And whether it's making connections with people, you know, me saying, hey, I'm not good at that and I can't do that, and let them know who is good at that, instead of trying to pretend I have all the answers when we don't. And I think I'm seeing that a lot more, like you said, in the Quad Cities also, as far as these new leaders in this change. They're like, you know, hey, this hasn't been working. Let's get something new. And same thing with us, you know. That's why I'm trying to bring in that new blood is like what you see in there is, I don't have all those answers.
Sure.
And I'm going to learn a lot from these young people. It doesn't matter if I have more experience than they do. And that's the exciting part. So, yeah, hopefully we can be that building block that you're mentioning and really get that going and help Mercado take these people to the next level. And then after us, maybe it's the SBA or maybe it's a SCORE or someone like that that'll be able to help them. So, yeah, I think it's a great groundwork that you're discussing and you're talking about. And also, you know, I know with, like you said, there's a new mayor in Silvis and so forth. And you guys, obviously, I think it's a great thing. Going to be reaching across the borders probably and helping each other out, because with East Moline getting the beautification that it is, I mean, it's only going to be natural that Silvis and Moline are going to have to want to try to get those areas to connect and have one big, beautiful area there where everybody can go through from one end to the other. I mean, that's always been the Quad Cities thing. So I can't wait to see that happen, and hopefully over the next 5 to 10 years also.
Yeah, that streetscape is really exciting. Concrete doesn't sound sexy till you're standing on it, right? You know, so it's like, oh, $76 million or $100 million in concrete. But the ability to walk from, we'll say, the Hyatt to the Rust Belt to the downtown East Moline. What I would also really like to see, because one thing that I really like about Mexico and Latinos is that if there's a space of concrete or any space where people are gathering, it's like, well, I can put a business there. You know, I would love to be able to see this like streetscape in East Moline and even all along Ben Butterworth Parkway. Like, why can't I have a paletero? And again, thinking of Latinos, like, why can't I have guitar players along the path?
Yep.
Why can't I have a guy selling me churros or tacos and whatever it is? But anywhere people gather, that's what I like about Mexico and Latin America is like, if people are gathering, you're going to find an entrepreneur there. It's like, you want to buy toys for your kids? You know, do you want to buy a cold soda? And I want to make it easy for people to do that, especially because no one wants to walk along a lonely highway by themselves. But if you got a taquero and a mariachi along the way, it's like, hey, let's go up and walk. And then they make money, you're entertained. And that's kind of more of what I want to see.
Yeah. Comes with education.
Let me ask you guys, what are you guys hearing from the young people? I mean, today's my birthday. So today's my birthday.
Young man.
Yeah.
Young man.
And again, it's strange where I still feel like I'm 17 with a fake ID.
There you go.
You know, but going into that room and saying like, wow, these people are half my age. And that's a good thing. It's a good thing. But what are you guys hearing? What's the youth telling you guys?
The youth is excited, man. I think social media is doing a big part of that. They're starting to get really smart. They're starting to get really, not that they weren't before, but they are, they're up here with us. They're up here with the professionals, the older crowd, and they're learning, and they want in too. I think they want that responsibility because they are that next responsibility. They're the ones that are coming up after us, learning from us. They're watching what we do, and they're going to come and emulate that. So I think it's whatever we're doing, we got to be doing it right, have that accountability, have that the great support, and have that great education. I'm like, hey, I want to help. Where do I go? A lot of times they don't know where to go or where we should be doing. But you touched on it. The groups need to be talking to each other of, hey, I want this information. Where can I go get it? It's essential that I get it quick, accurate, fast. My business depends on it. My livelihood depends on it. On the insurance aspect, that's kind of where it's all kind of tying in is it's got to be readily accessible. It's got to be given right, given appropriate at the right time, because time is of the essence a lot of these times, especially with these businesses. 4 or 5 months we were out because we couldn't get a license to sell. And we were asking for it, and we're calling and we're calling and we're calling, and we're not getting an answer. Who's going to give me my license? This guy said that guy is going to give it to me. That guy's not giving it to me. Who do I go? We got to the point where like, hey, you know what? Nobody's going to get us our license. Nobody's getting back to us. We're going to go post up right here at this location. Would somebody please come and shut us down, please? Because we'll be here. Because no one's giving our. So we sold for a week, but they finally got back to us, but they weren't getting back to us, and we jumped every hurdle that you guys required of us, and now you guys are leaving us kind of like that. We get the time was tough. Things have changed. Now things are a little bit way better. But at that time, it was just kind of tough, and we had to kind of. So we love to help people. We love to educate people. Hey, don't go this way. It's going to take a little bit longer to do. This is the right way. But it comes with who's in the know-how. How do we know that they're giving us the right information? So like I think with this movement, where it's going, getting the right people in power and giving them that right information, it's going to change these and get more people excited to be a part of it, because it's like it's a win-win. It's like, oh, yep, this is exactly where you go. LULAC is going to get you. This is where their strong points are. This is where we need younger people to get in power. The universities going to the universities and telling them, hey, can we have a day to talk to students? Can we get a day to talk to the new people that are interested? Multicultural. I know Augustana has a great international multicultural department. Just getting in there and be like, hey, can we do anything for you guys? Can we sponsor an event that you guys do? I know beginning and the end of the years, they always have great days where the whole end of in the quarry or in the square, where they have the students going and they have stuff for them. Just hey, we have groups here that care. Come and talk to us. We're here to give everything we could possibly give to you to help, because right. I think they're willing. And with social media, it's moving so fast, and they run social media. I think the younger generations are such at the forefront of social media, man. They know it like the back of their hands, and they really know their stuff. So it's exciting to see.
I agree, and I think some of the things with the youth, like you said, they're catching on quick and they're
fast.
doing a lot fast. Um, the only hard part though is it's that instant gratification when it don't come. Getting them to understand that, hey, don't give up. Rome wasn't built in a day, as they say. It's going to take time, because it's not like an Instagram click where, yeah, you might have tons of followers overnight. That's not the same thing with building a business. And so really getting that education to them, you're doing everything right. Don't change the course. You're doing everything good, but keeping them to stick with it, because it's just a different generation as far as that instant gratification, and not thinking they're successful because they have this imaginary plateau of where they need to be, because they're looking at some false things online that really aren't real.
Sure.
And so they're thinking that this is where I'm supposed to be at this age, and they're getting upset and discouraged because they're like, well, I'm 24 and I don't have A, B, and C. And it's like, well, none of us did.
Right.
But you're doing the right things, and you're doing it 10 years earlier than what we did it. So you're going to be so much more successful if you just stick with it. Because like I said, they're very smart and knowledgeable in doing their research, but just letting them understand that, hey, you gotta hang on it and keep doing it. And that's a great thing, I think, seeing the changes with like you getting your second term, Averio getting his second term, and then you see Bob and Ashley Harris over in Rock Island, and that everyone, these new wins and some of the existing wins, same thing with Sangeeta and Moline. I think it's really letting the youth see that I can do this.
Right.
Because before no one looked like them.
Right.
And seeing that as like, wow, we can do this, whether we're a woman, a minority, whatnot, we can do this. And I think that's a huge thing for the Quad Cities that has never happened all at one time in the past. So that's pretty exciting.
Oh, and one thing I missed, and I remember the young professionals in the Quad Cities, and that was so important. And maybe that's something we can talk about offline or later, but it really isn't that hard to create a space for young people to gather. And that was a great tool for retention, because we had all these John Deere interns, and we would hire you guys out to be DJs and have events, and we'd go all on the riverboat and go up and down, and it was creating a space for where young people could gather and build friends. Because that's one thing that I do that is of concern of mine, is we are more connected to people than we've ever been, but Americans have never been lonelier. And so it's great to have 1,000 friends on your social media, but if you feel lonely, is that really helpful? And there's still a lot of importance to meet face to face and be around people and feel their energy, feel their vibes, because when you feel connected in that way, you're more likely to stay. And that's something that I'd like to see come back, because again, that's one thing I really credit Bob Ontiveros, because his vision for the Greater Quad Cities Hispanic Chamber of Commerce was because he would travel and he'd see what it did in San Antonio, he'd see what it did in Chicago. He's like, let's just create an environment where business owners can meet and we can help advance their business causes. And it kind of makes me think of, I talked about my parents' kitchen table, where any gathering space where people can come together and talk is a good thing, right? Because that's how you talk out your differences, or that's how you advance your ideas. But if we're not meeting face to face and we're not getting to know each other, Bob loved golf. He's like, get on the golf course and, get to meet and talk with these people, because it makes a difference. And we need to keep doing that and see where it's missing. Maybe it's because we're seeing a lot of people come in from Togo and Sudan.
Yes.
And like there's another opportunity. It's been wild how, there's a lot of businesses that might go door to door selling everything from internet to roofs. And I respect sales. I respect that business. And you'll hear a lot of these people, and you can tell that English is their newest language.
Yeah.
But they're hustling. They want to make that money. And like, what are we doing to help reach out to these newer multicultural populations? And I don't have the answer, but I just see the opportunity growing for people who are hungry for success, to earn, to build businesses. You know what I'm talking about?
That's so true.
Yeah, I think that's been a big effort of ours. I mean, it's been a month or so, but we've really had a lot of talks and meetings about that, is, trying to find ambassadors from each different community,
Right.
so they can go out there and represent what maybe I wouldn't be able to communicate well over to them or you, but maybe someone they feel more comfortable with that can actually speak their language, because they understand it a little bit better, where some of the definitions might be mixed up otherwise. So they don't know, they just don't feel comfortable coming to us, because they're like, well, I don't want to feel funny or him feel funny, because we can't understand each other real well. Where if we can get some ambassadors in those different communities, then they can really help stand up, get them to that next level so they can be just as successful as anyone else. And really, that has been a great thing to see as far as the willingness to help. I mean, and I said that before, our community, when you're not a business owner and you want to be, you think no one will help you. You think you're all alone. You think no one will help you. But then you come to a mixer like what we just had, and you've got tables full of people going, no, hey, come here. Let me tell you what you can do and what I did. And that's a big thing of why, I'm trying to do twice as many mixers as we've ever done in the past, because even though, like you said, yeah, you can call and make appointments and try to get it next Thursday at noon for a quick hour at coffee or something. But when they're sitting there for 2 and 3 hours and building that connection with somebody where now there's like a vested interest, because they're like, I really like that person. I'd probably go hang out with them even if it wasn't business.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
That's helping getting them together and making that commitment to work with each other and help each other. So my goal is definitely to do more of those mixers, because I think that's a great thing to make sure they have that safe space to get together, meet new people, not feel funny about meeting new people or pitching their ideas. So I think that was something that was lost when that went away, and hopefully we can bring it back to some of our mixers.
And I know we're living right now in very strange times. It's sad that I just had to have this conversation yesterday. A friend of mine is an attorney, and the fact that now even if you are a U.S. citizen naturalized, they can investigate and say, if you didn't dot an I or cross a T on page 7 from your application in 1994, we're going to pull your papers and you're going to go. And I think my dad, he's 84 years old. I don't know how he filled out his paperwork in 1994. And the thought of that scares me, because the fact that having this conversation with him, he goes, Greg, I need you to get copies of everything that your parents have, their naturalization, their birth certificates, anything that they might need, because we do not know what's going to happen today or tomorrow just because of the disgusting immigration policies that are coming into place. And that creates instability. And when there's instability, less investment, less getting out of your house, which can affect our business community and can affect our own personal mental health. I wanted to ask you guys, what's the pulse right now on the Latino Hispanic community in the Quad Cities? Like, what are you hearing? What are they thinking? I hear and see a lot of fear, but then I also see a lot of people that are like, I'm going to ride this till the wheels fall off. And then everything in between. Any thoughts of like what the pulse is like right now with the Latino Hispanic in the community?
I think it's both. I think you're seeing a little bit of both. You see people that are scared. You get some people. I got some neighbors that his mail's kind of been piling up for some time, and I haven't seen him as often as I did, literally up until the election. Right. But then again, you see the other side that hey, you can't live in fear. You cannot live in fear. A lot of the times they don't let that define them, and they're going to keep at it. They're going to keep showing up to work 100%, giving 110. Because we're, like I said, our days aren't promised here, and we don't know when it's going to be our last day. So I think you see a little bit of both. It's like you said, crazy times that we're living in right now. Crazy times. But I think for the most part, Latinos, we are tough people, man. We are tough. We are kind of knit from a different kernel of corn, different bean from the sack, man. It's we're relentless, bro. We're relentless, and we're gonna keep going. If it's not one job, we're gonna do a different job. We'll do his job, and we'll do it even better. But we're not gonna give up. That's not in our. It's not in our DNA. It's not in our blood. We are relentless. No matter what is going on, we can't let that stuff affect us, affect who we are with one another and who we are in our community. If anything, I think that's going to strengthen us and how it's going. But it is times, especially our relatives and our people and our friends, that might see it a little bit different. But I think that's where we come in to help. Hey, what do you need help with? What can I help you with? I got this connect that over at the consulate, or I got this connect over with World Relief. I know I got some clients that I've been helping out, some friends of mine that we've been helping out. If it's not directly, it's indirectly through a source, through a resource. I know that's what we can do. That's what we can do, is help each other to the max, being really selfless with our contacts and with our abilities to help. Because guess what? It's going to come back. and then they're going to give you another client, or they're going to give you a friend, or they're going to give you a comida, or something. They're just going to be like, dude, you know what? It was the right thing to do, and I'll do it again every day. That's what I think that's different with us and in our culture, that we love to see people do good. We really do. And I think it's going to continue to keep going to everyone, not just Latinos, but anyone that just needs help. We just got to be there to help, guide them, help them in the right direction to see what we can do for them and for their families, man. Because eventually their families, they all come together. We get them as friends, but then their families come too. And like you said, you're meeting with the people that your parents were meeting with, sure. And they're still friends. So it's great to see that.
Well, it is. I think that connection and that strength throughout the community has been really good and really strong. I mean, I got a meeting coming up with Jerry from the MLK Center, and we're going to hopefully get together and see what we can do for our communities and help each other out. And I think that's the thing. I think if you look over the last 8, 12, 16 plus years of however the economy has been, no matter who's in office, it just hasn't been great for everybody. And I think the communities have really started going, hey, you know what? We got to look at each other, mm-hmm. whether it's black, white, brown, or whatever, and work together, because they're not going to just give it to us. So I'm seeing everybody coming together, and I think it's a beautiful thing that we're like, hey, you know what? Mm-hmm. He's got this, and he can help me with that, but I have this, and I can help him do this other thing. So I think seeing the communities realize that, hey, you know what? We don't always have to wait for something to pass or something to come in our favor. We can help each other out, and I think reaching across those aisles and doing that, not worrying about who's in office, and not that that's not a concern, but, saying, hey, we're going to help each other first. And then if that other stuff happens, like you said, some things we can't do nothing about, but we're going to make sure that we help each other the best we can. I think that's a big new stance that a lot of the communities and a lot of the organizations are starting to take and look, and hopefully we can lead that here at the chamber and make that happen.
When I was working at Augustana College, I led diversity efforts, outreach efforts, and initiatives within the college, and I did the same with the Centro. One thing that I've realized is when I was at Augie and when I was at Centro is the diversity has diversified. And it used to be, and I don't know why people like to just put blanket statements all over Hispanic and Latinos, like, oh, Hispanic and Latinos like tacos. It's like, well, that's not true. Some of us are vegan now, right? So we still like tacos, but they got to make sure they're vegan. But it used to be, too, where, Latinos, they all like Vicente Fernandez. Well, that's true, but guess what? We also like Metallica. And the diversification of our diversity has been very interesting, because I'm realizing that a lot of Latinos aren't waiting for, I guess, some of these opportunities to come to them. They're just creating them. It's like, you know what? I'm vegan. I want vegan tacos. I'm going to create my own vegan taco shop, right? And that's one thing that I really want to see more of our community get encouraged. I want to encourage them so that if there's something you want or need, go out there and do it. You had mentioned earlier where it's like, I need A, B, and C. It's like, we'll start with A, and B and C will come along the way. And because someone might say, it's like, oh, yeah, well, he's got B. So now you've got both A and B, and now you also have a partner. But that's another challenge that I think we're going to be facing, but it's an exciting challenge, is how do we manage the growth and the diversification of our diversity to make sure that their needs are being met. One of the big ones is mental health. And I'm very nervous about how the federal administration has cut state support for mental health in the state of Illinois. And what does that mean? Less access to mental health, less access to prescriptions that they might need to keep themselves healthy. But I also like that at least Latinos are starting to talk about it. Yep. Because for the longest time, if you were depressed or if you had a mental health issue, you needed one of three things: a candle, church, and Sprite. And that cured it all. And guess what? Like, now people are actually talking. It's like, no, we're recognizing that there are people who need help and support, because we weren't recognizing that before. No. We were mean to people who had mental health issues. And now, again, with people saying, no, mom and dad, like, I have a problem with my mental health, and it has nothing to do with Sprite or a candle that I have to light. And so I think that's fascinating and interesting, and how we're going to also advance our mental health for our community is something that keeps popping up to mind too. And it's going to be a big thing. It is. It's a big thing. But overall, I think it's a bright future. I'm very excited for you and what you can do. I'm glad that we had this opportunity to chat, because you get it. You have a very good pulse on what we have in the community. You're building in the networks that are needed. You're recruiting new people. So you certainly have hit the ground running and done very well. Congratulations.
No, I appreciate that. Thank you very much. And yeah, the support from all you city administrators and everything are just going to be what we need, because we can't do it alone, because I'll fail if I do it by myself. So, getting all the help I can and feedback, the honest feedback, for you to pull me aside and say, hey, Jesse, that didn't go over so well. That didn't work. Maybe you can do this and that and help me out. That's what it's going to take, and me not being too prideful or anything to let that get in the way and learn from it and hopefully make it better for everyone.
I mean, like I said, you've hit the ground running. I was very impressed with that event. Looking forward to the next one, because there's people that I still have to meet.
Yep. We'll
Awesome,
keep them
guys.
coming. Well, thank you guys. Thank you, everybody. Anything else you want to leave the listeners and the viewers? Last words of wisdom?
Just get out there and do something. Get out there, do whatever you want. I don't care if you're going out there taking a walk, or maybe every week you're going to go try a new restaurant, go visit somewhere new, but just get out there and do something. Don't get caught up behind a screen. Don't get caught up behind your computer. Get out there and meet people. And as Mema said, summer in the Quad Cities, there's nothing like it. And it's right around the corner. So I look forward to seeing all of you guys at events. If you see me, please come by and say hi. And thank you guys for your leadership and for inviting me on this video podcast.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And the last thing I would like to say is like, comment, subscribe, leave a little message below. Let us know what your thoughts are. And also go out and visit a locally owned business. Check out a locally owned business. Try something new. Try some food that you've never had before. You only live once, so try something different.
Thank you, guys. We'll see you guys soon. Take care.
Me gusta.
Bye.